What's going on, everybody? I hope you're doing well. I got to tell you a little bit about what I did this week. I spent a lot of time out in my backyard working on building a really big gazebo by hand. It took me 3 or 4 days working on a little bit here, working on it a little bit there, but I finally finished it. But something else happened during that time that just, it kind of sucked. I started sneezing like crazy. My eyes started watering and itching. I started coughing. My nose was running. I was a complete mess. And you know what that means? My allergies hit, which also means springtime is finally upon us, my friends. It is the changing of the seasons. Things are starting to bloom. Things are starting to get green. And we need some fragrances that are going to match the springtime season. So today we are going over 10 fragrances that are going to be great for this spring. I hope you're ready because there's a lot to go over. Let's go. Starting off with fragrance number 1, we have a fragrance that is a flanker of one that I absolutely despise. I definitely haven't talked about it on this channel before, and I've maybe talked about it on my TikTok channel once or twice, but I'm trying to be as open-minded as possible, and I will be honest, this isn't a very bad fragrance at all. It is from the Jupe line. This is Jupe Ohm Ice. That's right, my friends. I actually picked one from this line. I don't like Jupe Ohm at all. The pink bottle that smells like cherry cough syrup and baby powder, it's pretty bad. But the Jupe Ohm Ice, that's a little bit different. This is a lot more fresh and it is very sweet. And don't let the name fool you because this does not have any cold facets to it whatsoever. Like when I saw this, I thought I would give it a chance. I'm like, this is going to be kind of chilly. Maybe it's going to have a cooling effect. Not the case here. It's sweetened with the top note of plum, and it's got a little bergamot and clary sage, and as well as a little bit of orange blossom. It also says on Fragrantica that there is some tobacco and sandalwood in here. I don't smell any tobacco, to be honest. And sandalwood, I may have to use my imagination a little bit to smell it. But I don't pick that one up very much as well. The big notes are going to be the plum, clary sage, and the orange blossom in here. How good is it? I would rank this probably overall, if I'm going based on scent, as maybe a 5 or a 6 out of 10. But it is very affordable and it is very long lasting. You can definitely see, and look at that atomizer, man. It dumps like a full milliliter on your skin whenever you spray it. And I did try out a little bit on my skin a little bit earlier. It's not that bad, and it definitely does work for spring. You're talking about getting a 25 milliliter bottle for maybe around $25 online. So you definitely can't go wrong with the price, but it is going to be more of a young man's fragrance. I think it's really good for starting off working on springtime fragrances where you're trying to get a little more green, where you're trying to get a little more fresh, but still being, universally liked and pulling some compliments. You're going to get that with this one, okay? Jupe Ohm Ice, it's worth a look. Now, whereas we just got done talking about Jupe Ohm Ice and how it doesn't really have any icy facets to its scent profile, fragrance number 2 absolutely does. It is a fragrance from one of my favorite artisanal fragrance houses. It is Harmony Perfume's Odins Sleep. And the perfumer Trill Noel, we appropriately have dubbed him the King of Mint. I say we, the people that are like me who are fanboys of this fragrance house. And this one right here is an absolute mint bomb. Peppermint is the main top note here, and it is so strong when you spray it on your skin. If you're not careful and you get the wrong amount up your nose, it's going to make you cough just a little bit. Not because it's bad, but because, it just hits you deep down in the nose. But also, when you spray it on, it's going to have a cooling effect on your skin. So it's very chilly. It is it's very striking with its iciness right on the top. But as it dries down, you get some sweet vanilla and tonka bean and grassy notes. So the purpose of this fragrance is to make it feel like spring or winter is finally dying off. You're getting those final frosty mornings, but then as the afternoon drags on, you're going to really, really pick up some of those green notes. The grass is starting to go from brown to green. Some of the leaves are starting to bloom, and you can absolutely get that entire effect off of this bottle. It is a little bit more of an expensive bottle, but you have to know this is an absolute monster when it comes to performance. I've never tried a Harmony Perfumes fragrance that lasts for less than 10 hours, and this one is no exception. This one's about 12 hours on my skin, and it is an absolute journey. It's a work of art, and I highly recommend you go to Harmony Perfumes. By the way, that's Harmony with an X, bringing balance to everything. Go to Harmony Perfumes and check out this fragrance. Get yourself a sample pack, whatever you got to do, put this one on your list. Next up for fragrance number 3, we have a really good budget-friendly fragrance that you can find at rack stores like Burlington, Marshall's, or Ross. Also, it's a very good green fragrance for those of you guys that have never tried green fragrances and, you know, want to branch out and add something that will diversify your collection a little bit. This is a really, really good one. From the house of Mont Blanc, this is Star Walker. Hard to see right there with my hand behind it. Oh, whatever. There it is. Kind of. There we go. Star Walker. And I'm pretty sure that there's been a decent amount of you guys that have probably passed this and not even really known what you were looking at. But Star Walker is a really good green fragrance from Mont Blanc that's got some citrusy top notes like bergamot and mandarin orange, but it's also got bamboo as a top note. That's where the green really comes into this fragrance. And then you've got some sandalwood, some ginger, some fir, and some amber as it dries off. But that fir kind of gives it that evergreen, you know, kind of pine forest type note breakdown right there in the base. But the bamboo along with the citrus really make it bright at the top and kind of grassy to a certain point. But it's definitely a daytime fragrance. It lasts about 6 hours and it only costs around $20 or $25. So it is a really good, you know, invigorating fragrance for when the temperature starts creeping up a little bit. And you know, the fact that it has these green notes, it just really complements the season. Like I said, spring's the time where things are blooming. Spring's the time where, you know, some of those plants are starting to come alive. And this one just, it smells, I know this kind of sounds kind of corny and poetic, but it smells like new life. I would dare say that. So definitely take a look at this one if you happen to pass this in a rack store. Again, definitely take a look at this, or you can always check out the description below and I'll leave a link to where you can buy it. All right, guys, for fragrance number 4, I need to come clean about something. I made this entire video about spring fragrances based on the fact that I just got this one in the mail this week and I'm super excited about it. It was actually gifted to me by twistedlily.com, the niche fragrance website of which I am an affiliate. I love these guys, and it is a bottle from the house of Rossa Parfums. I've been trying to get a bottle of their fragrances for ages, and they sent one to me, and I could not be happier. And it is the quintessential springtime and even summertime fragrance, but for purposes of this video, I'm making it for spring. It is called a Midsummer Dream. Now, Rossa is most famous for having their fragrances like Elysium, Apex, Creation E. But a Midsummer Dream, I've not seen this one talked about very much, and it absolutely should be. It's got a very bright citrusy opening with some grapefruit and bergamot, but it starts getting a little bit earthy, maybe somewhat floral as it dries off. It's got some elemi, some rose, some orange blossom, a little bit of cardamom right there in the heart notes. And then in the base, you've got some benzoin, vetiver, and vanilla, amongst some other things. You know, what does that all mean? You know, obviously it's going to be very bright and very fresh whenever you first spray it on. But it smells like you are rich without presenting yourself as rich. People know that you're well off, but they don't know how well off you actually are. You know a couple of those people that you know are rich, but not everybody would know that they were rich if they were walking down the street. There's a little bit of mystery to them. You know that there's definitely a story to them. That is, if you can think of what that would smell like, it is this, okay? I mean, because all of those notes in and of themselves, you know, they seem like some pretty bold notes to all just be thrown in together. But that is the impression that I get from a Midsummer Dream whenever I spray it on. It just makes me smell rich and makes me smell very, very well-to-do. All right, it is an incredible springtime, summertime fragrance. It has beat the heat for me. We here in Florida this weekend, we were about 85 to 90 degrees, and it did very well. I have worn this one 3 times since I got it, and it has not disappointed in the least. So be sure to go to twistedlily.com. My coupon code is RAFscents10. You get a 10% discount site-wide, and you can absolutely pick up a bottle of this one, or even you can pick up a sample, I think. Raja Parfums, A Midsummer Dream. Moving right along to fragrance number 5, we have one that has been a popular spring fragrance for a number of years, so much so that I think there's quite a few influencers that would like to move away from this fragrance, but myself, I'm not ready to yet because I really like it. It is from the house of John Varvatos. This is Artisan Pure. Now, when I first got this, it was pretty early in my cologne collecting days, and my smell, my palate, if you will, wasn't quite as developed as it is now, and I wasn't ready for the way this smelled. It was a little bit abrasive to me, but as I wore it, as I got to appreciate the notes more, I really came to like this, and now I absolutely love it. But you got to be ready because when you spray it on, it's quite strong, and it definitely makes a statement, okay? It's very green, grassy with some bright citrus notes on top. It's got, you know, some subtle woody notes on the bottom, but the way I feel like this smells is, I don't know if you've ever gone outside to cut the grass on a Saturday morning. You've come back in, you've showered, you've got ready, and then you leave again Saturday afternoon in the middle of the hottest part of the day, but you can still smell some of that cut grass from when you did the yard earlier. That's what this smells like to me. It just smells like a freshly manicured, freshly cut lawn right as it's really, really hot outside. And I don't know, that I hate cutting the grass, but there's just some nostalgic feel that I really enjoy from that smell. It's not a very expensive fragrance overall. I think you can get a 120 milliliter bottle for around $40, and it lasts about 5.5 to 6 hours. Nothing too terribly long, but for the price you're paying, it's not going to be really that bad, okay? This is definitely not going to be a fall and wintertime fragrance, and I don't really feel that this is the best fragrance for the evening, but that's just me. You guys wear it whenever you want to, but John Varvatos Artisan Pure for the springtime, it definitely needs to be in your collection. Next up for fragrance number 6, we're going to go with another designer scent that is sweet, it's versatile, and it pulls a ton of compliments, especially during the warmer weather seasons. This is Prada Lunarosa Sport. Now this one actually has some striking similarities to another popular designer scent, Jean Paul Gaultier Lamel, the original Lamel. But there are enough differences that this one is not going to be considered a clone or an inspired by. Although, like I said, you can definitely smell the similarities in them. But this is sort of aquatic in some of its scent profile, although there are no official aquatic notes in here. You've got some juniper berries and ginger for top notes. There's a big lavender note in here, and then some vanilla and tonka bean right down there in the bottom. When it comes to smelling Jean Paul Gaultier next to the Prada, you know, the similarity really comes from the vanilla and the mint. But instead of mint in here, you've got ginger. They kind of have somewhat of the same effect sometimes, being a little bit spicy, a little bit green, but they're not the same, okay? But this one right here, it really, really works whenever it starts getting warmer outside. And especially for those of you guys that work outdoors, maybe you go to the gym a lot, maybe you sweat a little bit more, maybe you're an athlete, whatever it is, this is a really good fragrance for you guys. I used to be an athlete back in the day, but I like tacos a little bit too much now, so I pretty much just play horseshoes and whatever involves me eating at the same time, like bowling. But Prada Lunarosa Sport, for those of you guys that play real sports, this is going to be a really, really good one for you. It lasts me about 8 hours. It's a really good, long-lasting fragrance. The Lunarosa line, you know, some of these fragrances are actually getting harder and harder to find. And Lunarosa Sport, I still think this one is available. It hasn't gotten discontinued yet, to my knowledge, like the Prada Lunarosa Black did. But if you can, find this one while it's around, because who knows, it may disappear off the face of the earth. But Lunarosa Sport, I'm really glad I have this one. And you should get it too. Just saying. Here we are at fragrance number 7, and I'm going to be honest, this one is pretty divisive in some parts of the fragrance community. Some people really, really enjoy this fragrance, and others would just rather it go away forever. I myself, I happen to really like this, but it's very green, very good for the springtime, but it is very mature at the same time. Doesn't cost too much money. It is Versace the Dreamer, and yeah, very mature in its scent profile, man. I can, you know, if you've seen reviewers talk about this one and you've seen some of the comments behind some of these videos, you'll know that some people just can't get down with this. But I myself, I'm not one of those people. It is green up top with some tarragon and juniper, but as it dries down, you're going to get some iris, you're going to get some lily, you're going to get some tobacco blossom, not tobacco leaf or straight up tobacco. It's tobacco blossom and some amber. Overall, though, it's got a little bit of a powdery white floral type of breakdown a little bit. Very, very appropriate for formal settings and office settings for sure. And like I said, spring, summertime appropriate, absolutely, especially during the daytime. But you're only going to be looking to pay about $30, $35 for the Dreamer. That's really good, especially for a Versace fragrance, okay? It lasts on me about 8 hours, and like I said, I see this more on more mature guys, more professional guys, probably somewhere around 25 years old and higher, maybe even 30 years old or higher. But that's just my preference. Should you get this, I would see if a store has it to sample, or see if you have a friend that would sample it. Because when I blind bought this one myself, and I was so-so about it. I had to come around to it a little bit. I had to find the right outfits to wear with it. All of those things. But overall, Versace the Dreamer, I think it's worth your consideration. Is it worth a buy? That's going to be up to you. But for myself, I'm glad I've got it. For fragrance number 8, what the hell? Let's stay with the house of Versace, and we're going to step it up quite a bit. Because Versace the Dreamer, while it is good, it's not everybody's cup of tea. It's hit or miss. This one, though, is definitely going to be a hit for everybody and is one of my favorites from the house. It is Versace Pour Homme, an absolute staple in my collection and one that I wear regularly in the spring and summertime. And I promise you guys, when you get a bottle of this, if you don't have it already, it will be one of your favorite daily wears, I promise you. But it is a very bright opening with some lemon and bergamot, but not a lot of people realize that it's a pretty green and floral fragrance at the same time. We're talking neroli, there's some rose in here, some clary sage, and some geranium, not to mention the tonka bean and the amber at the bottom, just bringing everything together. And what I really like is that with this fragrance, there's a little bit of an aquatic feel to it. You know, like I was talking about with the Prada Lunarosa Sport, it smells a little bit aquatic, but all of these notes that are in this fragrance are not aquatic whatsoever, but it's just so ingeniously put together and crafted that it just gives it such a better feel than what it sounds. You know, I'm not the biggest fan of floral fragrances. I don't scoff at them, but I don't reach for them all that much. You know what I'm saying? But you can't tell that this is floral, and I love that. I think that is so good. But anyways, before I start getting off on my tangents, let's talk about the performance. You're going to get about 6 hours, 6.5 hours off of this one. It's not the best performing fragrance in the world, but it's also not that expensive in terms of fragrances. I got this 200 milliliter bottle. I have no clue why I got it so big. 200 milliliters for $70-some online, and it worth every penny, man. So many people have complimented me on this. It's a no-brainer whenever I want to reach for something and smell good. I know that I can trust in this one. Versace Pour Homme, guys. If you don't purchase any fragrance from this list, this is definitely the one that you need to get. Fragrance number 9. Let's go back to the world of niche, but let's stay affordable. You know, niche fragrances, you don't have to spend a ton of money for niche fragrances. There are some great houses out there that have some affordable bottles and they smell really good. And this one is no exception. From the house of Mancera, we have Oud Lemon Mint. Man, that is a terrible picture. Let me see if, there we go. That's more like it. And I've talked about this fragrance before, and I'm going to keep talking about it because of how awesome it is, especially for the springtime. So you've got some bright citrusy top notes like some lemon and mandarin orange. Obviously with the lemon in there, there better damn well be some lemon. And a little bit of almond too, giving it that almond gives it a powdery type of facet, adds a little bit of maturity and professionalism to this fragrance. And then as it dries off, you've got some oud, you've got some patchouli, you've got some leather and vanilla and some musk. And surprisingly, it says mint in there. There's not actually a note of mint in the fragrance, but it comes off as mint. And I'm talking like a leafy mint, not like a peppermint or a spearmint. It's a leafy mint, you know, green and fresh. But this one right here, it is super, super powerful for a springtime fragrance. It will get you 10 hours of longevity with only 2 or 3 sprays. And look, that is one hell of an atomizer, man. But this is a really great fragrance. You can find this discounted some places around $80 or $90. Full retail is going to run you about $170, $180 if you find it on a website that pulls straight from Mancera instead of getting overstocks or anything like that. But it's still worth that price. $180 for a niche is not terrible, in my opinion, especially when you compare it to other things like Creed. But Mancera Oud Lemon Mint, I think this is a great fragrance to grab during the spring and summertime. And you can find it, like I said, for $80, $85. And you can also go to twistedlily.com as well. You can find a full bottle of this. It will be retail, but you can also find samples there. And I do suggest sampling this because it's not going to be everybody's favorite right at the beginning. It's not a safe blind buy, in my opinion, but I think you'll like it. I'm just saying, get a sample of it if you're nervous. But if you trust Uncle Jesse, buy the full bottle. Last up on the list, we have another budget-friendly fragrance that you can find at rack stores just like the Mont Blanc Star Walker, with being in TJ Maxx, Ross, Marshalls, Burlington, places like that. It's from the house of Banana Republic. We have Grassland, an incredibly green, outdoorsy fragrance that I've described before as smelling like if Davidoff Cool Water were not released in the 1980s, but rather released in 2020, 2021 for modern audiences, you know. But this is a really, really good springtime fragrance, and it's got a bright, fruity, fresh opening with some mint, some apple, and some bergamot. But then as it dries off, that's where it really starts getting green with some lavender, ambergris, moss, and patchouli. And there's even some what you call ozonic notes that just kind of bring a bit of effervescence to it. You know, kind of like when you just walk outside and the air just smells fresh. It smells clean and vibrant. That's kind of what ozonic notes would be described as when it comes to fragrances. Now, Banana Republic, if you've watched any of my previous videos, you know that I urge against shopping Banana Republic online, as they are generally in the $40, $50, or $60 range. But if you hold on tight and you look through the rack stores and try to wait for these to be made available, you will be able to find them between $20 and $25. I promise. I have 14 fragrances from Banana Republic, and I have not paid over $25 for a single one of them. So take my word for it, you can find these very cheap. But in terms of springtime fragrances, this one has great performance at 8 hours. It does project. You only need 2 or 3 sprays on, and it cuts through the heat like butter. I'm telling you, this one is great for the hot weather. So Banana Republic Grassland, definitely a keeper for this spring. And there we are, my friends, 10 fragrances that are going to be great for this spring season. And I'm not going to lie, spring fragrances are sometimes really hard to shop for because it seems like there's only like fall and winter fragrances and then summer fragrances. And then what do you do with spring fragrances? You know, how do you get into green fragrances? How do you make them work in social settings? I promise these fragrances right here are exactly what you need for this spring season. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Like and subscribe. Be sure to check out all of my affiliate links below where you can find all of these fragrances at these websites that I list. They do earn me a little bit of kickback, but that's how I need to support this channel, man. I hope you don't hold it against me, but I love you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time.